BTS News Today.it started as a rumor, a single anonymous post that appeared on a quiet Wednesday morning on a local Korean community forum. The post was short, almost cryptic. A major global celebrity donated 100 million Korean wons to children's hospitals this week, anonymously. It might have gone unnoticed, buried beneath the flood of daily updates and entertainment chatter, if not for one detail. The user hinted, without saying a name, that the donor was a beloved voice of comfort for millions, known for his sincerity more than fame. Within hours, the comment section exploded. There was only one name that fans around the world whispered in unison: Jimin.by noon. Hashtag Jimin donation was trending worldwide. No one had proof, but the timing, the tone, and the signature gentleness described in the post felt unmistakably his. For years, Jimin of BTS had been known for his humility, for quietly funding scholarships, hospitals, and arts programs without ever attaching his name. He had always said in interviews, "If you can help someone without being seen, that's the most beautiful kind of giving." And now, it seemed that very belief had manifested into something bigger. A secret donation so large, so impactful, it rippled across continents before anyone could even confirm it was him. HYB, his label, said nothing. BTS's official accounts remained silent. But silence only added fuel to the storm. By afternoon, media outlets from Seoul to London were scrambling for confirmation. The Seoul National Children's Hospital, one of the country's most reputable pediatric centers, reported receiving an anonymous donation that matched the rumored amount. Journalists camped outside the hospital gates, asking staff members, nurses, anyone who might have seen a clue. Yet no one spoke. Every official statement ended with the same phrase: "The donor wishes to remain anonymous." But one nurse, speaking off the record to a local reporter, said something that changed everything. He didn't come with an entourage. He wore a mask, a black cap, and spoke softly. He asked about the children in long-term care. He didn't say his name, but his voice, it sounded familiar. That was all it took. Within minutes, fan detectives began comparing timelines. The previous weekend, Jimin had reportedly been spotted leaving the HYB building late at night, wearing all black, accompanied by a single manager. The next morning, several fans claimed to have seen him near Yongsan, not far from the hospital. Photos were blurry, but the outline, the posture, even the way he adjusted his mask, it was enough for the world to decide. The mystery donor wasn't just anyone. It was him. By the evening, every major Korean outlet had picked up the story. Was BTS's Jimin the anonymous donor behind the 100 million Korean won's gift to children's hospitals? Read the front page of the Korea Herald. CNN Asia followed with, "K-pop star's anonymous donation sparks global kindness movement." In Tokyo, fans lit candles outside the BTS pop-up store. In Brazil, murals began to appear with messages reading, "Thank you, Jimin." The world had turned one quiet act of giving into a phenomenon. Still, Jimin said nothing. Not on Weverse, not on Instagram, not through any official channel. His silence only deepened the intrigue. The next day, at dawn, the hospital posted a photo on its official page. A small card left behind with the donation, written in neat handwriting. It read simply, "May every child feel warmth, even in the hardest seasons." There was no signature, but the handwriting, graceful, rounded, slightly leaning forward, was unmistakably his. Armies began circulating comparisons between the card and Jimin's autographs from previous fan events. It was identical. The media went into overdrive. Reporters stood outside HYB's headquarters, waiting for a statement. Photographers chased every car that entered the building's underground parking. But HYB remained firm. "We do not comment on artists' personal philanthropic activities." The response, neutral as it was, only confirmed what the world already believed. Overnight, the hashtag JiminKindness effect trended across more than 40 countries. People began donating in his name, sharing screenshots of their own contributions to children's hospitals, pediatric cancer units, and global health charities. Within 48 hours, over 60,000 individual donations had been made worldwide. Some were as small as $5, others in the thousands. One tweet summed it up perfectly. He gave anonymously, but the world heard him anyway. By day 3, news agencies began uncovering the backstory. According to hospital insiders, the donation wasn't just financial. It came with a request. Jimin had reportedly asked the funds to be used for music therapy and art programs for long-term pediatric patients. He believed, as one staff member recalled, that music can heal the parts medicine cannot reach. This detail broke the internet. Fans flooded timelines with clips of Jimin singing "Promise," the gentle solo song he'd written years ago to comfort those feeling lost. Its lyrics, "Even if you're hurt, it's okay, I'll hold you," took on new meaning. The song began climbing charts again, years after its release, purely from the emotional wave of fans reconnecting with it. In London, BBC anchor Maria Clark opened her segment with a single line. "He didn't want us to know, but kindness has a way of revealing itself." By now, the mystery had transcended fandom. Politicians, activists, and celebrities were posting about him. UNICEF's official account tweeted, "True generosity is silent. Thank you to the artist who reminds the world what compassion looks like." For armies, this wasn't surprising. Jimin had been doing this for years, quietly donating to schools, supporting low-income students, even sending funds to disaster-stricken areas without ever acknowledging it publicly. But this was different. It wasn't just a gift, it was a message. In a year filled with noise and controversy in the entertainment world, Jimin's silence spoke louder than any PR campaign ever could. Then, something unexpected happened a week later. During an interview for a fashion magazine, the journalist asked Jimin about the growing rumors. His manager looked uneasy, expecting him to decline comment. But Jimin smiled softly, looked down, and said in his gentle voice, "Sometimes, when you see pain up close, you realize how small your own struggles are." He didn't confirm anything. He didn't deny it either. That one line, spoken so calmly, was enough. The world understood. Within hours, the clip went viral. The way he said it, his voice almost breaking on the word pain, hit everyone watching. In the comments, one fan wrote, "He talks like someone who has seen things we haven't. Maybe that's why he gives the way he does." From Seoul to San Francisco, journalists began revisiting his earlier interviews, noticing a pattern. Every time Jimin talked about happiness, he mentioned children. Every time he spoke about hope, he mentioned healing. It was as if his secret donation wasn't just charity. It was an extension of everything he had been quietly building through his art all along. By the 10th day, the ripple had become a global movement. Fans and ordinary people began organizing Jimin-inspired charity weeks, volunteering at children's hospitals, creating art drives, and hosting music therapy sessions for patients. One hospital in Manila named their new children's wing the Promise Room. In Argentina, fans donated instruments to local hospitals, labeling each with a small heart and the word comfort. The press began calling it the Jimin effect. Economists wrote think pieces about how a single uncredited donation had triggered millions in charitable activity worldwide. Cultural analysts said it marked a new kind of celebrity influence, one not powered by endorsement deals or viral challenges, but by silent empathy. Still, Jimin never released a statement until one night. It was nearly 2 weeks after the story first broke. Jimin went live on Weverse for the first time in months. He appeared in a dimly lit room, wearing a soft gray sweatshirt, his hair slightly messy. His tone was quiet, even nervous. For several minutes, he spoke about everyday things, the weather, his members, how he missed performing. Fans flooded the chat with comments about the donation, hearts, crying emojis. He smiled, reading them silently, then said softly, "You all always see too much." The room went quiet. Even through a screen, his sincerity was disarming. He took a breath and continued. There are children who don't get to grow up like we did. If I can help even one of them smile, that's enough for me. He paused, eyes glistening for a moment. But please, don't thank me. Just share that love with someone else. That's the real gift. For a few seconds, he looked directly into the camera, and it felt as though he was speaking to the entire planet. That clip shattered every platform it touched. Don't thank me. Just share that love became a viral slogan. Major brands, humanitarian groups, and influencers began adopting it as a campaign tagline. UNICEF printed it on their next series of global outreach posters. By morning, the New York Times ran the headline, "When Kindness Goes Viral, How BTS's Jimin Redefined Modern Celebrity." The article opened with the line, "In an age of noise, he chose silence and changed the world." But even as the praise grew, there was still one more secret waiting to surface. Weeks later, investigative reporters uncovered that Jimin's donation had not only funded the Seoul hospital, but had been distributed through a network of pediatric programs across Asia, South Korea, Japan, Thailand, and Indonesia. The donation total was not 100 million Korean wons, as originally believed, but closer to 400 million Korean wons, $290,000, all traced to one anonymous source using multiple intermediaries. Financial experts confirmed it was a deliberate attempt to stay hidden. When the story broke, the internet froze. Everyone knew it was Jimin, but he had tried harder than anyone to keep it a secret. In an exclusive feature, The Guardian wrote, "Jimin's donation is not remarkable because of its size, but because of his effort to remain unseen. In that humility lies his true stardom." Meanwhile, the hospitals continued to post updates, photos of children laughing during music therapy sessions, holding instruments, painting their dreams. In every caption, they used the same line, "Inspired by someone who believes in healing through love." Fans around the world began writing letters to the hospitals, sending drawings, origami hearts, and messages addressed simply, "For Jimin's kids." The hospital staff, overwhelmed by the outpouring, created a small wall filled with these messages, a mosaic of gratitude from every corner of the globe. Months passed, and life moved on. New music came, new headlines replaced the old ones. But something lingered. Every time a new charity movement emerged within ARMY, every time fans organized a drive for children's hospitals, someone would whisper, "He started it." In the end, Jimin never officially acknowledged the donation. He didn't need to. His silence became the loudest act of compassion the world had seen from a global artist. Years later, one of the doctors from Seoul National Children's Hospital gave a rare interview. When asked about that day, she smiled and said, "I remember him standing by the window, watching the children play. He said, 'They're stronger than any of us.' Then he left quietly. He didn't want anyone to know." She paused for a long moment, then added, "But the world found out anyway." And maybe that's the truth about Jimin, that no matter how much he hides behind kindness, the light always finds him. Because the world doesn't just see Jimin the artist anymore. It sees Jimin the healer, the giver, the voice that sings softly into the darkness and makes it a little less lonely. Months had passed since the story first broke, but the ripples refused to fade. The children's hospitals that had received Jimin's anonymous donation began releasing periodic updates. New art rooms, small music studios built with funds from an anonymous global artist, and therapy sessions that played BTS songs as part of their healing programs. Each image that surfaced online felt like a whisper from the universe itself. This was what compassion looked like when it was real. One photo went viral. A young girl in a hospital gown holding a small microphone, singing softly into it, her foretube barely visible. Behind her, the wall was painted with bright colors and the words, "You are enough." The caption read, "Funded by the same project inspired by the anonymous donor." It was shared more than 2 million times in a day. Fans quickly noticed something familiar. The phrase "You are enough" appeared in one of Jimin's old Weverse posts from 2021, where he had written, "If you can't love yourself today, it's okay. You're still enough." It was subtle, almost too poetic to be coincidence. But armies knew. They always knew. The world began to call him the silent giver. Newspapers wrote about him not as a pop star, but as a symbol of selfless humanity. The Washington Post described him as a reminder that fame can be used as a whisper, not a shout. But for Jimin, it was never about recognition. Those who worked closely with him knew how deeply he carried the stories of others. His friends recalled how he would often visit children's centers quietly, without cameras. Once, during a rehearsal break, he told one of the staff members, "Sometimes I see those kids in my dreams. I hope they're happy now." And maybe that was why, when BTS began their hiatus, Jimin didn't disappear into luxury or leisure like most stars of his magnitude. Instead, he vanished into stillness, traveling, reflecting, staying out of the public eye. Rumor had it he visited several hospitals abroad: Tokyo, Bangkok, Jakarta, always discreetly, always at night. One blurry photo captured by a nurse in Thailand showed a man in a mask kneeling beside a child's bed, holding their hand while the child laughed. The nurse never revealed his name, but wrote in her caption, "He spoke softly in Korean. He told the boy to dream big." And before he left, he bowed. The post was deleted within hours, but not before the internet saw it. For a moment, the world went quiet, united by the idea that somewhere out there, the superstar who filled stadiums was still kneeling beside hospital beds, unseen, unheard, and more human than ever. Meanwhile, media coverage turned into documentaries. Netflix released a feature-length special titled The Gift, the story behind the anonymous donor. Though it never mentioned Jimin by name, everyone knew. The final scene showed a montage of children laughing, intercut with footage of Jimin performing Promise. The documentary closed with a quote on screen, "Kindness needs no credit." The film won multiple awards. Jimin didn't attend the ceremonies. When asked about it in an interview months later, he smiled shyly and said, "It's not about who did it. It's about what came from it." The journalist paused before asking, "But you must know how much it changed people." Jimin looked down, his fingers tapping the table gently, a habit he had whenever he was emotional. "Sometimes I read the letters. The ones the children send," he said quietly. "I don't know why they thank me. It should be the other way around. They're the ones teaching me what strength looks like." That line became one of the most quoted phrases in Korean media that year. As time moved on, the hospitals he had once helped grew. One of them even opened a new research center. In its lobby stood a small plaque that read, "In honor of the anonymous donor whose kindness started it all." Below the plaque was an engraved butterfly, Jimin's symbol, known to fans for years. And yet, there were still mysteries to eye. In early spring, an envelope arrived at the Seoul National Children's Hospital, addressed to the music therapy department. Inside was a handwritten note that said, "To the ones who continue to dream, never stop singing." Along with it was another donation, 50 million Korean wons. No sender's name, no return address. But once again, the handwriting gave it away. Journalists caught wind of it within hours. Headlines screamed across the internet, "The anonymous donor returns." Fans didn't even question it anymore. They simply wrote messages of love, promising to continue his legacy through their own acts of kindness. On social media, people began using the hashtag #KeepSinging, sharing stories of helping others in small ways, paying for a stranger's meal, donating school supplies, comforting friends through messages. It became a movement of compassion inspired by one man's refusal to be seen. That same month, Jimin attended an international award event for BTS's contribution to humanitarian causes. When the host brought up the donation rumor, the audience erupted in applause. Jimin, visibly flustered, covered his face with his hands and laughed. Then, in his trademark humility, he said into the microphone, "I just wanted people to feel loved." The room fell silent. Even the host seemed caught off guard. That moment became one of the most replayed clips in global pop culture history. In it, you could see everything: the humility, the grace, the quiet heart that had given so much without ever needing applause. Later, when asked by a journalist what he felt seeing the children's lives changed, Jimin paused before answering. "You know, sometimes love doesn't need to be big. It just needs to reach the right person." That sentence would later appear on UNICEF's annual report as the opening quote. Years later, when BTS eventually reunited for a special global event, Jimin stood on stage and sang Promise again. This time, as he sang the final line, "So don't be hurt anymore, smile again." Behind him, the LED screens showed clips of children in hospitals across the world smiling, painting, laughing. None of them knew the man singing to them was the same man who had quietly changed their lives years before. And yet, in that moment, it didn't matter. When the concert ended, the audience roared his name, but Jimin simply bowed, placed his hand over his heart, and whispered, "Thank you." Those who were close enough to read his lips swore he also said something else for them. Maybe he was talking about the children. Maybe he meant all of us. But one thing was clear: Jimin's act of giving had transcended charity. It had become a living story of what humanity could be when fame, ego, and recognition disappeared. His name might not have been written on the checks, but it was etched forever in the hearts of those who believed in him. And long after the lights faded, long after the noise of fame quieted, his silent kindness continued to echo in hospital corridors, in classrooms, in the small, tender spaces where hope still lived, because kindness like his never ends. It travels softly, endlessly, just like his voice, comforting those who need it most. And somewhere, in a quiet hospital room filled with music and laughter, a child might still be whispering his name, not as a fan, but as someone who was healed by a love that never asked to be seen.
They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling